The unpaid balance method is our next stop in section 8.3. And the unpaid balance method we use most times for credit card calculations. Because from month to month on your credit card, there's a chance that you didn't pay it off and then there's a balance that has been unpaid that's been carried forward. Hence why it's called the unpaid balance method. In your book, on page 410, there is an equation regarding the unpaid balance method. I'm going to caution you against looking too hard at that equation because I find it to be a little confusing based on the elements of it. Now, on the screen, you'll see that I have the same elements, but I think it's a little bit easier to talk about. So let's talk about this. Your bill for your credit card is going to be equal to the previous month's balance, or PMB as I call it, plus the FC, which is the finance charge. And to calculate the finance charge, you need to take that previous month's balance times the interest rate as a decimal times 1/12. Basically, it's the PRT equation. Now, T is always time in years, but as you can see, we're going to use 1/12 because we're talking about 1 month's worth of time here, and 1/12 represents the year's time in months. Then we're going to add any purchases made, as in any new charges that you may have charged on the credit card. We're going to subtract any returns that you may have made. So if you bought something and then brought it back and they said, we're going to give you a refund, same thing as a return. And then finally, minus any payments you may have made. And that's going to tell us what the bill is. Looking at example 2 on page 410, it says, assume the annual interest rate on your credit card is 18%. And your unpaid balance at the beginning of last month was $600. Since then, you purchased ski boots for $130 and sent in a payment of $170. Part A says, using the unpaid balance method, what is your credit card bill this month? All right, perfect. So we need a little more room here. So let's take what we've got on screen and let's make it just a little bit smaller so that we have more space to work on. So with the great power of Microsoft Paint here, we'll take this and we'll make it a little bit smaller. So it's still here, still staring us in the face, so we can use that, but at the same time, putting it back so that we have more space. Okay, so for part A here, what do we know? Well, we know that the PMB, the previous month balance, was $600. So let's get that down here. We also know that the interest rate is 18% or 0.18 for us. That's going to make a play here. And we also know that we purchased ski boots. So PM, if you will. Ski boots is on there for $130. Any other purchases made? Nope. And we did send in a payment of $170. All right. So, it never hurts when you start these kind of problems to just list out all the elements that they've given you. As you can see, they gave us the previous month's balance. They gave us the interest rate. We also know time because time is always 1/12 because we figure our balance out from month to month. Our purchases made, $130, and then the payment we sent in of $170. All right, so using that, we should be able to figure that out. Before I do anything, though, my first step in these problems is to figure out what is my FC, what is my finance charge going to be. And the finance charge is take your previous month's bill, so $600, that's what was left, previous month's balance, times the interest rate. So in our case, that's going to be 0.18. Separate that by a parenthesis so we don't lose that dot. And then finally, times 1/12. So this is going to tell us the finance charge on our balance here. In other words, what does the credit card company charge us for us to keep a balance with them? So let's bring up our calculator. Clear off anything that may be lingering from a previous problem. And let's say it's going to be 600 times 0.18 times 1/12. Now again, in this case, it's a lot easier to work these problems from right to left than from left to right. So I will start with saying, hey calculator, what's 1 divided by 12? And I want to hit enter because I want to know what that is. I don't care really for the decimal, but I want to make sure I'm doing it step by step. Then I could say times 0.18, hit enter. And then finally, I could say times 600. It looks like it's a grand total of $9. So let's go ahead and minimize that and put our $9 on here so we can keep that value around for later use. All right, so our finance charge is $9. All right, so now our bill. Let's look at our bill here. Our bill is going to be The previous month's balance, $600. Plus the finance charge, $9. We just figured that one out. Plus the purchases made, we bought some ski boots for $130. We didn't have any returns, nothing we brought back for money. We did send in a payment of $170. So set it up. We got our 600 plus 9 plus 130 divided by 170. Let's bring our calculator back into play here. The $9 is still on our calculator, so we might as well keep that there and say plus the $600 plus the $130, and then finally minus the $170. Now, normally when we're doing our calculator work, we'll hit enter between the steps. When you're adding and subtracting, you don't have to do that. It's just between the multiplication and the division it's best. But in adding and subtracting, we don't have to worry about it. And we can hit enter here, and it's going to tell us that our balance is $569. And now we'll give it our context. We'll put our dollar sign back into play here. And so to answer part A, our bill is $569, or at least our balance is $569 going forward here. Moving on to part B of this same example, it asks, what is your finance charge next month? All right, so next month, we know that we're starting with a balance of $569. And we're still going to multiply that times 18%, because as far as we know, the credit card company hasn't changed the interest rate they're going to charge us. And once again, it's for a monthly rate. That rarely changes, and so you'll keep it as 1/12. Bring up our calculator one last time here for this particular problem. Let's clear these results. We don't want them interfering with the new result. Move the calculator where we can see the numbers that we need and say, again, from right to left, 1 divided by 12, enter, times 0.18, enter, and finally times $569. In this case, it's $8.54. You do want to round that to the nearest second decimal because it is money. So $8.54 then. It should be less than the $9, obviously, because our balance started out less than $600 this time through. But there we go. There's parts A and B of the unpaid balance method. Example 2, page 410.